It's a Saturday. It's 11 o'clock. And it's another Badminton Talk Podcast. Mark Topping, how are you today?
John Noble, I am fantastic. Just my cat is joining me here in the Zoom at the moment. He's up on the table with me.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. And are you finished with your weeding, Mark?
Yes, I'm on an absolute weeding mission at the moment. I'm determined to get rid of all the weeds in my garden, and I'm being quite successful, I think.
Mark, I'm sure, just like your badminton, you'd be successful at anything. Today we are here, it's the 22nd of April, a Thursday, and it is an amazing day in Dublin. So we would like to wish hello to all our listeners all over the world on this Badminton Talk podcast, brought to you by, of course, the Q Shuttle. And Mark, do we have someone special today to interview?
John Noble, we always have special people on our Badminton Talk podcast. But yes, I am really looking forward to today's guest. We have someone very special that we want to introduce our listeners to on this wonderful sunny day in Dublin. Of course, we like to give a nice welcome and introduction. Let me introduce you to our guest. But the first clue, Mark, is going to be this little clip. Maybe our listeners might get the person before the end of the little bit of music.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious. That ball was on the line. Shot flew up. It was clearly in. How can you possibly call that out? How many you can miss? That piece walking over, everyone knows it's in his whole stadium, and you call it out? Explain that, will you?
Communication there.
The stakes are high, so are the tensions. Two Thai teams and two former badminton partners meeting for the first time as rivals.
Maybe things didn't end on the best of terms for those two.
Bodhin Asara and Manipan Jongjeet played together at the London Olympics, but on Sunday the two competed against each other in Richmond at the final of the Canada Open.
These two are the former players, and they're having a little bit of a discussion here.
Bodhin and Manipan traded verbal jibes. They were warned twice to cool their tempers.
No, they're going to get told off here. Behave.
One of Canada's top players, Luke Couture, was at the tournament and saw the drama unfold.
It was just complete shock because, in badminton there's a lot of ego, a lot of testosterone going on, but and it's come close to this point many times before, but I've never seen something go so over the top like this.
Oh, now there's a scrap. There's both. Look at this, the chair goes flying. They get right in front of the broadcaster station. And no one's breaking these two up.
Richmond police were called to the scene, but tournament staff had already broken up the fight. Nobody was charged, but one player needed stitches to his ear. Now the Badminton World Federation is investigating.
They have a system called, they give black cards to when you disqualify someone, and that's been in place for about 13 years now. They've only issued 3 black cards, and the other 2 were for an athlete swearing at an umpire and an athlete getting into a verbal shouting match with the opponent's coach. So this is totally out of what we've ever seen of a badminton tournament.
That's all right, buddy. Oh, Carol, you got me in my heart away. You got me down in my nightmares. Oh, I'm floating on the Milky Way. Oh, Carol, nobody's done it before. Oh, baby, you've opened the door. Oh, Carol,
Okay, the music from the band Smokey. Mark, you might recognize that music from the past?
I've been to see a Smokey concert, John.
Oh, golly, you're giving away your age, Mark. Well, today we have a very special guest on the Badminton Talk podcast. Our first ever umpire and a world-class umpire she is. And many of the badminton fans and players in Ireland will recognise her as she is part of the umpire training panel here in Ireland. Mark, more introduction, please.
Yes, thank you, John. Yes, we are absolutely delighted to chat today on the Badminton Talk Podcast to someone who has represented Ireland at the very, very highest level in world badminton. Our guest today is a Badminton Ireland Grade 3 umpire. Also a Badminton Europe certified umpire.
Wow.
A Badminton World Federation certified umpire.
Wow.
This umpire has umpired all over the world, including European Championships, World Championships, big championships like the All England Badminton Championships, and has even umpired a gold medal match at the Olympic Games, the absolute pinnacle of umpiring.
Incredible.
Our guest today is also one of just 9 members of the Badminton World Federation Assessment Panel that trains and examines the top level umpires in the world. Also, our guest, hailing from Ireland, is also part, as you said, John, part of the umpire training panel here in Ireland. It is a great pleasure to welcome our guest of honor today, Carol Farrell, to the Badminton Podcast. Carol, you are most welcome here today.
Thank you very much, Mark and John. And well said, my name. It's not always easy to get it right. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
That was a nice introduction. I didn't realise I had done quite that much in my career, but I'm glad you figured it out.
Well, Carol, look, it's great to have you here today on April the 22nd, hopefully with such a future ahead for all of us in this game of badminton as we record this podcast with you. Mark, I feel we have to kind of behave here or we could be carded. What do you think? Yeah? We'll have to
I've always behaved when Carol is umpiring my matches.
Okay. I will grant Mark that one. I never had any problems.
Okay. Well, we'll try then. I will try to keep all the bees in the jar then. Just a quick question, just Carl, before we get going. By any chance, are you related to Greg Farrell?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I know Greg will be listening from time to time for those that know. That's a big relief, but I just thought, I know that the name was pronounced not in the Farrell, but I just wondered, was it a distant cousin somewhere down the genealogy?
No, well, that much I don't know, but no relation that I'm aware of.
Okay, great. So we're all safe in hands. Okay, well, look, Carol, we'll get going. We've so much to cover today, and we're delighted to have you. So I'm going to start at the beginning with the first question. So, Carol, I'd love you to tell our listeners, who introduced you to this wonderful sport of badminton, what age, if you can remember, and where was it?
The person who introduced me to badminton, which was playing badminton, was actually my dad. At the time, we lived in Rathfarnham, and he joined a club, no idea what club it was, in Whitehall Road, and he brought myself and my sister down. I know I had to have been about 15 years of age, because I don't remember playing in Whitehall Road that much, and I know when I was 15 we moved down to Kildare, and that's actually where I started playing badminton, in the Curragh Badminton Club.
Wow!
Badminton Club.
We only recently interviewed Chloe, and she had said the same. Chloe McGee, that is, of course. The dads. Now, I know the mums do. There's many of them too, and as we said to Chloe, Audrey McGee plays a huge role in the McGee family, just to give one example. But your dad, did your mum play at all, Carol?
Yeah, my father and my mother both played in the club in Kildare, in Newbridge, actually. They both played until they were in their mid-60s, late 60s. Both of them played. My sister played in Naas. She played up, and I'm sure Mark probably played her many times. She played for Naas Town Hall, along with Aubrey Robinson and the rest of them. So she did. I played a little bit, but once I finished school at 18, 19, I wasn't playing that much again until I was probably nearly in my 30s.
Wow, that will surprise.
Took it back up again.
Then you took it back up again. And did you play league then when you started back in at the age of 30, or was your league days behind you?
No, I played Dublin League for Warrenstown.
Warrenstown. Oh, there's one, Mark. Wow, Warrenstown. Yeah.
Yes.
And
they still going?
No, the club is long gone. The whole school, Warrenstown College, the whole thing is gone. It's closed.
Yeah.
And most of us were scattered to the four winds across different clubs.
Yeah.
After that.
Wow.
You know? But no, that's where I suppose you could say I played in the Curragh. I played a bit of league in Kildare League, but then I suppose probably mid-20s actually after my son was born, I started back playing in Warrenstown.
Wow. So that's when we had the old score system in play. If we can remember that, you had to control the serve to win the point. And
that's right.
And we played in many parish halls till late into the early mornings. That was, the times, as all of us here will recall as well. Carol?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember that, playing in small country halls around County Meath and in Dublin as well. And you were there till 2 o'clock in the morning at least.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was the old scoring system,
Yeah.
But it was, in a way, that was part of what badminton is. You were there till 2 o'clock in the morning, chatting to each other, chatting to the opposition, having your supper at 1 o'clock in the morning, some gooey cakes and all sorts of lovely things at 1 o'clock in the morning. Not good for your diet, but all part of the fun of what we were doing.
Yeah, that was back in the day. Well, we're here with Carol, and thanks to, of course, the Q Shuttle, we are bringing you this Badminton Talk podcast. If you note, I'm just saying Carol. I'm not going to attempt the surname because I'm with an
Carol will do fine.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Wonderful start. Right, Mark, on to question number 2. Over to you.
Yes, Carol. That's very interesting how you got started in badminton. So often the parents are a big influence in getting people started in badminton. But anyway, let's go on to your umpiring piece. Who introduced you to umpiring? Why did you get into umpiring? Why did you do it? And once you got into it, why did you enjoy umpiring?
Who introduced me? A friend of mine. To be honest, I've been an umpire since 1995. I did my basic umpire training course in April 1995. So that's how long ago it is. Yeah. But it was a friend of mine who had done an umpire training course a few months earlier. And one day she said to me, "Oh, there's another one in Whitehall Road in 2 weeks' time. Do you want to go? Are you interested in doing it?" And to be honest, what had happened was I probably would have said no if she'd asked me 3 or 4 weeks earlier. But I had been playing a match. The ladies' doubles, it was a league match, and it was, as John has said, the old scoring system. And we had got to 14 all in the game, and we got to the 14, and then we sort of said, okay, myself and my partner said, okay, we'd like to set. As you remember, you set it
That's
for 3.
Right, you had the option then to 3.
You had the option, exactly. Yeah. You set to 3. And we said we want to set, and the person who was counting the score was from the other club, and they said, no, you can't set because you didn't make the choice at 13 all, because you could set at 13 as well. And I kind of thought, no, that's not right. But I didn't know the laws. To be honest, 95% of badminton players, they know enough of the laws to be able to count the score. We all know that. We all feel like that. We all do that. And I thought, that's not right. But I hadn't got any choice, got on with it anyway. But when I was asked 3 weeks later to do a training course, I went, I'm going to that training course because I want to know the damn laws. I need to know whether or not that person was right. Now, I'll have to say the person was wrong. But anyway.
Of course. You didn't have to say that. All our listeners knew that, Carol.
The person was wrong. But, here I am.
Did you win or lose that match?
I think I have a funny feeling we won it, actually. I can't really remember. I have a funny feeling we did actually win the match in the end. But that's how I got started in umpiring. I went off to the training course to learn the laws. To be honest, most of our umpires did. We came to learn the laws, and put it mildly, we just got hooked.
Yes.
Yeah. And to be honest, I have to tell you a funny story, which was...
Yeah, we love funny stories, Carol. So
you really love this one. One of the things that people have always said to me as an umpire is that I'm very calm in the chair, and I don't panic, and I don't look like I'm panicking. No. How come I do that? And I said, well, let me tell you the story of my very, very first umpiring match, and that was in Whitehall Road, 2 weeks after I had done my training course. All dressed up and dolled up, looking good to be able to look like an umpire.
Yep.
Got my score sheet, got up at the chair. I was really happy because the one thing that's hardest to do is try and remember the players, you know, and know who's who so that you don't get them mixed up and you keep the score sheet straight. So I was really lucky. I knew 2 players. I'd played against them many times in County Meath. That's fine. I only need to know the other 2. So that wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Got all the way through the first game, no problem. Comes to the second game. The pair I knew well had won the first. They're now 13-7 or 8 up in the second. Coasting along. I'm really happy because I know everybody's names and everything's going according to plan.
Yeah.
And
almost too good to be true.
Oh yeah, much too good. Too good to be true. I can promise you. Because the next thing is they win the next point, and I go 14 and I stop dead. I was about to say match point. I stopped dead because the losing side, one of the players, just walked. I can tell you quite clearly, it was court 3 in Whitehall Road, okay?
Yeah.
And he was on the far side. So he just walked down his side, under the net, through the middle of his opposition, and sat down in the spectators' seats.
You're kidding me.
I'm not. And I'm standing there, sitting in the chair going, and I kind of looked at his partner and went, get him. And before the partner, who now proceeds to go under the net and off down to the seats, but just as he gets to your man stands up, walks behind me to the back of court 4, and walks right up the middle, through the middle of a match on court 4.
You're kidding me.
With the umpire of that court yelling, "Let!" So now he's sitting at the other court 4. So his partner's running around after him. I see one of my tutors from 2 weeks ago, Derek. He was Derek O'Rourke. He was one of the umpires.
Yes.
Derek was there supervising us, myself and the other girl who was starting. He was keeping an eye on the 2 of us, right? And obviously Derek had seen what had happened and copped, because next minute I see Derek running up the hall, heading off. So it turned out, the guy was having a petit mal, one of these, light epileptic fits where you just blank out.
Golly, yeah, of course.
So that's actually what happened. He just didn't know, and he just went. So to be fair to the other pair that I knew, they wanted to hold off the match. Anyway, I can't remember whether or not I used the right vocabulary to finish the match. I have no idea. But that was my very first time sitting in an umpire's chair. One of my players had an epileptic fit.
My God, it's just as well you didn't red card him, Carol, on your first game. That would have been something.
But I always say to people, if I cope with that in my very first match, I cope with anything happening on the court. Don't worry about it. So that was how I started badminton. That's how I started umpiring. What do I enjoy about it? You get to see, as we say in the business, you get to see the best matches, the best players from the best seat in the house. And you never have to pay to get into the hall.
That's true.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
But, the other end of it is, you get to see great badminton, but you make fantastic friends. Your umpiring colleagues, whether they're in your branch, whether they're in Ireland or whether they're outside the country, they become your friends. And that's the most important part, I think, for all of us throughout the world. Have said the most important part of umpiring is actually doing something with friends.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. We're just getting to do something we like with friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And believe me, we do sit up in the umpire's room having a really good laugh.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Carol, speaking from the other end, also as a player and having played many competitions over the years, and still, it's wonderful to have your match umpired. There's nothing better, and maybe some players don't always admit that, but whether you're playing in Whitehall Road, Baldoyle, Lisburn, England, whether you're playing in the new National Indoor Arena, when the Black Army start walking out, sorry if you don't mind me, the Black Brigade, and I don't really mean that in the badminton vocabulary or vernacular, I should say as well. It's wonderful. It really does. You realise that you're here because this is an important match to be played, and you try to put on as a player your best effort, which is more than you do in practice. So, while you're getting the free seat there, and that's wonderful, and I understand that, Carl, it's great what you do. And if I'm right to say, this is a volunteer umpires. Umpires volunteer their time. Apart from maybe the cost of getting from A to B, you don't get paid for umpiring this game, particularly like when you come to Baldoyle or Whitehall Road.
No, we don't. We are volunteers. We do not get paid.
Yeah.
If we're at the Irish International or the International, that we do get a subsistence allowance for meals.
Yes.
Because we're there all the time. But if we go to the leagues and cups or anything like that, no, we are not paid. And we, to be honest, unless we have to travel a fair distance, and most of us are Dublin anyway, we don't even get paid travel expenses.
Golly,
we do this because we like it.
That's amazing.
And I don't think a lot of people realise that we actually are real volunteers. We don't get paid.
Well, that's a real eye-opener to our listeners, because many will not have known that, Carol. Thanks for sharing that with our listeners.
I can back that up in that I play a lot of tournaments, and I would travel around the country, right up to Lisburn, down to Galway, and for the big opens, and it's, in some ways, it's not always the same umpires, but you do see a lot of familiar faces, and the umpires travel the country and put in such a huge effort and time for Irish badminton and for the players. And I back up John completely. It's lovely to step on a court and have an umpire on your game, because generally you don't have an umpire in league matches, ordinary league matches, and it just adds a bit of gravitas to the game. And it does. It brings out you play better. And also, actually, when you've got a crowd as well, you play better as well. We've often said, about doing the leagues, and the leagues and cups is an example, because we could be doing Newmark in the leagues and cups, or we could be doing, the very, very, we do the semi-finals and finals of the very bottom division. Mm. And one player, they're as important as the top players.
Yes, I agree.
And part of us being there as an umpire is to make them feel like, this is an important occasion. It might be, Division 11 of the Ladies' League.
Oh, there's serious battles down there, Carol. Serious battles down there.
Look, I can tell you, we had an umpire here years ago. He was Dutch, and he was working here in Ireland for a few years, and he umpired with us. And he umpired the leagues and cups, of course, And he has said it, and I've been with him throughout the world, and I mean out in Asia, in China, all over the world. And he has said to people when they're talking about difficult matches, he said, believe me, this is nothing compared to doing the club leagues in Ireland. He said, any day of the week, I'll get up in a chair in a final with TV cameras. He said, the bottom divisions of the club leagues in Dublin, they are the hardest things you will ever umpire.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Because, in a way, you're right, Mark. The players are there to win.
Yeah.
And we're left holding the can.
Yeah, no, the passion, you see the passion and the determination, regardless of the standard, when you're down at the divisions there. And everyone's equal because they're in that division, so they're always extremely competitive. And they're fascinating matches to go to. If anyone hasn't gone to some of the lower league matches, go and enjoy them when it all comes back, hopefully from September onwards. We have...
John, actually my favourite nights are in sort of semi-finals of cups, and the lower divisions. They usually bring a big crowd to support them, and just the noise, the atmosphere, it's fabulous.
Actually, as an umpire, you're right, Mark. As an umpire, they are the nights we love, because we love that atmosphere, and we're going out into that atmosphere.
Yes,
and it actually, never mind, as well as lifting the players to play, it lifts us to perform well.
Yes.
Because we've got to meet that expectation of all these spectators.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Like, I mean, how many times, Carol, have we all seen, finals and semi-finals, and there's just the players and the families and the few parents, and it's a much different atmosphere. Yes, the quality could be something, but there's no atmosphere. And all the atmosphere is in that opening day, which you get at these league cups and league matches in semis and finals. It's wonderful. And I have to, I know we go off a little bit tangent here on the Badminton Talk podcast, which is fine. That's what it's about as well. It prompted me to throw in just the BPL nights, Carol.
They're brilliant.
They are, I mean, what Leinster have done for badminton, it doesn't matter what badminton has done for badminton, in the sense, those nights have really... they're the nights I think juveniles will remember for the rest of their lives, and a lot of the the very high level players who are just tipping into national, international representation level, they are great to be at, and seeing a packed Whitehall Road or Baldoyle when they're over there, it is incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean, that makes players look and think, well, God, can I do that? I'd love to be there.
Yeah.
And umpires, when they start off, they won't be umpiring at that, but they can be there, and they can say, God, maybe next year I'll have enough experience and I'll have the grade to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that brings me to mind of something which is a little bit going off on a tangent again.
That's okay, Carol. You're allowed to go anywhere in this place as you like. That's what it's
talking
all
about where you can go and what you can do. Is a very, very good friend of mine. She's an umpire, a lady umpire.
Yeah.
She's from the States. She actually has umpired at a VPA, one of those the leagues. About 3 years ago, I was going to the Swiss Open and she was going as well. She flew into Ireland the day before and I had to umpire up in Whitehall Road, and she came up and umpired in Whitehall Road as well. She said it was a brilliant night. She thought it was absolutely fantastic in the size of that hall and the atmosphere she talked about.
Yes.
She thought it was absolutely fantastic. But how she started umpiring, how people umpire, she started umpiring the year the Olympics was in Atlanta.
Ooh.
She was involved in badminton at the time, but only as a player and, club and things like that. And she line judged in Atlanta, at the Olympics in Atlanta. So she did. And she had said many times afterwards, she sat in the line judge chair in Atlanta and she looked at the umpire up in the chair and she said, do you know what? I could do just as well as that.
Good on her. Good on her.
So do you know what she did? She did the gold medal mixed doubles match in London.
Wow, that's incredible.
So it just goes to show how, whether it's players looking at the top players or an umpire, a line judge looking at an umpire.
Yeah, it's
that you feed. You feed people.
Yes, yeah.
You feed the enthusiasm to them, and they want to stay and become more involved. But she did. She umpired a gold medal match in London along with me.
That's fantastic, and it's on the record now because there was cameras around then. I can think, Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. We all have our videos of ourselves.
Yeah.
But that's what it is.
Well,
it's how do you get going and where do you go? Well.
Yeah, and if you're determined enough and you want something and you work hard in it, then the reward can be achieved. And that's a great message to all our listeners on the Badminton Talk here podcast. We have another 10 minutes on this first part. How quick time is flying. And I think it's that long introduction by Mark, even though it was brilliant. I think it's eaten up half our time, Mark. By the way, Mark, just as a throw out, if you are looking for someone on the Spartans, I'm available next season. Just to let you know, okay, that's a passing.
Okay, I'll just check my roster and I'll see if I need a singles, veteran singles.
Yeah, it's okay. Put me on last. It's okay. I don't mind. Just to put me out there, So we have Carol Farrell here, a world-class umpire. And of course, in the introduction, we were alluded to the fact that Mark, I should say, told us that Carol did umpire at the famous London 2012 Olympics, which I did a little bit of research. That was a women's doubles final in Wembley. If I'm right, the Japanese were playing the Chinese, and the Chinese won 21-10, 25-10. 23. Correct, Carol?
That is correct.
Oh.
I remember that. It was the Chinese was Zhao Yunlei and Tian, her partner Tian.
Yeah. I didn't want to start pronouncing that. If you noticed, I didn't say that, as you always do so well pronouncing those names, Carol. I don't know how you do it, but
that was actually the year Zhao made the record by winning a gold medal in the ladies' doubles and a gold medal in the mixed.
God, wow.
He took both that year.
Was that the first time it was done at the Olympics?
The first thing, I think it was the first time it was done at the same Olympics. You know, I think Gao Ling probably has a double. I think Gao Ling would have had may have had a gold medal in both events, but at different Olympics. But that was the first time I think a player took a gold medal in two events at the same Olympics.
Wow,
that is some achievement. That is amazing.
She was she played with Zhang Nan at that time.
I remember that partnership.
And just staying on the Olympics, because we've only a few minutes left on this first, so we won't jump into the second question till the next part here. What are your memories of that Olympics, Carol? Do you remember, like, Chloe McGee obviously was on her, and I'm mentioning her because I just have her as an Irish player, that obviously Scott went there as well, but just both of them. Did you get a chance to see any of those players playing, and what was that atmosphere like?
The atmosphere in London was fantastic. I'll have to say that. The badminton itself was fantastic, but the whole atmosphere, London was brilliant that week. The whole city was involved in the Olympics. The atmosphere in Wembley, we were in Wembley Arena. The atmosphere in Wembley Arena was brilliant. I can remember walking into the arena the first day and all of us walking in and looking, and the first thing all of us said was, "Oh my God, it's Barbie pink."
Yeah, that's right. Barbie pink everywhere. I was going to say that. That's the colour it had, wasn't it? It was an amazing colour.
Oh, it was amazing. But that's the first thing we all said when we walked in that day. "Oh my God, it's Barbie pink," which it was, but it didn't matter. It was very good. It was fantastic. I did get to see Chloe play singles. I got to see Scott play his singles.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't probably on duty for that rotation, so I was able to sit out in the audience. And I know I went out to watch Scott's match. I saw part of Chloe's match. I saw them there, and I know I have a lovely photograph somewhere taken of myself, Chloe. I think Dan is in the picture.
Yeah,
and there's another young lad who was actually one of the volunteers there as well. In London, the four of us in the arena in our uniforms and clothes. It was fantastic.
What a memory!
It really, really was. London was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
we had so much fun there.
Yeah, and it's as close as you would get to Ireland running its own Olympics because of, we're just 30 minutes on a flight.
There was quite a lot of us at the badminton. It just goes to show you're talking about players qualifying, and everybody thinks players go to the Olympics, but Chloe and Scott were there. There were the two players. I was there as an umpire. Willie Martin was there.
Oh, Willie Martin, yes.
Willie was there. He worked the boards at the back of our courts for counting shots and lengths of rallies and things like that.
Wow.
So he was, and there was at least two more people that I know were involved in volunteering there as well. So we actually had quite a good contingent of Irish people at the badminton in the Olympics in London.
Yeah.
But it shows most people think it's only the players that go, and we took a whole load more as well while we were at it.
Yeah, very good. I can't recall the name of the other official umpire. You see him at a lot of the European events. He's always wearing the red and he's on the ground. His name just slips me at the moment. You know who he is, and he oversees everything too at some of these games. And I think he's on the BW. Is it badminton?
Thorsten Berg from Denmark. Thin man, slight. He's in his late 70s. Is that the guy you mean?
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, Thorsten was one of our referees there. That's right.
Excellent. Okay. Wow. This is we've really got. I was just a final point. As a player, it has to be nerve-wracking, exciting, particularly if it's your first Olympics. But nerve-wracking, exciting. As an umpire, Carol, walking out. Not only to umpire one match, but to umpire a final. What's that like?
The first match I umpired was probably more nerve-wracking because it was the start of a session. We had three courts. I was the first one out of the arch because my court was the furthest away. So you're kind of walking out thinking, now just keep walking straight, keep your face serious, don't lose the players and everybody else behind you. Don't fast and fall over the cameraman who's walking backwards, by the way, in front of you with cable all over the place.
Of course, yeah.
You know, get to the court, did the toss, you know, and then your mind is going, okay, now do the toss. Don't drop the coin when you do the
It's
toss.
all the don'ts, isn't it, nearly?
Because the cameraman is standing about a foot off from where you are.
Right up your mugshot.
Videoing you
Yeah.
with it. And don't drop it. You got it right. And then you get in the chair and everything's grand. And then you kind of go, for God's sake, when you say these players' names, make sure you say them right. So, somebody, and that, but, that's what you do because the cameras are on you. But the finals, that was spectacular. You're the only court going out and some bright spark decides to tell you in the lineup, in the warm-up area, you do know this match is going live to 150 million people. But no, I don't need to know that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. That's great, isn't it? Yeah. Oh,
isn't it? Oh, it was, it was a fabulous match. The first game was quiet, but that second game, 25-23, was spectacular.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely brilliant. It really was. And I came off with my service judge and we walked around the back of the court behind the referee's table and we high-fived each other and just said, yes, we did it. We didn't screw up.
You didn't screw up. Oh, what a story there from...
Yes, Mark.
Carol, that was a...
Whoops, Carol wants to come in again, but that won't happen, Mark Topping, till next Saturday, of course, just before we have a chin chat. We just wanted to remind all our listeners, we did record, Mark and myself recorded this interview with Carol back in April, and as you can hear, the weather was fine. Today, Mark, it is July the 1st, and it's another lovely day as well, isn't it, Mark?
Certainly where I'm sitting, John, it's absolutely gorgeous here in my back garden. Love looking at it at the moment. Long may this good weather continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what perfect timing to have this podcast go out. And there's going to be a few more parts of this over the month of July, Mark, when the Olympics is taking place. And of course, we know Nat is heading over there with Davis and Dan in about a week's time. Isn't that exciting?
Oh, wow. Yes. And last night, Nat played against a Malaysian sparring partner. What a tremendous match.
Yes.
Full of strong rallies, high pace. And I'm looking forward to seeing Nat. But wasn't that a wonderful story? Oh, my goodness. Not many people can say they have umpired in front of 150 million people, John. Just going back to Carol there, yes. I thought that was an amazing statistic. 150 million people listening to you umpire a match.
Yeah, and to all our listeners here on the Badminton Talk podcast, of course, which we know is sponsored by where is it? Q Shuttle. On our Facebook, Mark, we put the link for that match. That match is on the link. So if they go on to the My Mobile Badminton Shop link, or go on to my own profile or your profile, I'm sure you're going to be sharing it today, Mark. They'll be able to look at that link and see the match with Carol coming out right from the very start, tossing the coin right to the very end. And I don't know, maybe you go through you just go into the zone in those situations. You have to block out everything. But she was so professional. I am Guinness tonight, and took control of that match. And I think maybe our kind of Division 10 matches might be a tad easier than that. Would that be true, Mark?
Well, from what Carol was saying, I think that might be where she learned. Those Division 10 matches in the Dublin District League are so tough. That maybe prepares you for the Olympic final.
Yeah, well, it is true. I have to say, watching some of the finals and the semi-finals in the Dublin District League or any league at that level, it's absolutely battle all the way. Every single point. It doesn't matter how you win the point.
It's about winning each point, and life is on the cards with many of those encounters, Mark. So I'm quite sure maybe a little later on, Carol tells us a little more about some of other experiences that she's had on the court. Have you ever thought of umpiring, Mark? Have you ever thought you'd like to be, an umpire? Is that something that you might do when you retire from the competitive badminton, or is it something you'd avoid?
Yeah, I had never really considered it, I'll have to be honest, John. But actually, listening to Carol, and particularly the family bit, I do love, it seems as though the family of umpires, they have a lot of fun together. So, yeah, I think it's something I'll consider. I'll obviously never get to Carol's stage because she put in 18, 20 years of hard work from 1995 up to 2012. I suppose that was the pinnacle of her umpiring career. So I'm too old to do that. But yeah, I could try my hand at Division 10 in the Dublin District. Yes, it could be something I'll try, John. I'm not promising, but think about it.
You might.
What about yourself, John?
Well, at the moment, I'm so busy doing coaching with Sophia and Dylan. Not that there aren't other coaches too. There are, including your good self, and of course Badminton Ireland. But it's full on. Been a kind of taxi serve as a coach, and then obviously lecturing and doing other stuff. Working on the Badminton Talk Podcast, Mark, the My Mobile Badminton Shop. Bringing in our Q shuttles in September. There's so exciting about that. Mark, there's so much going on. I'm not sure if I'd even be able to sit at the back seat of a Division 10 match, not alone on the umpires. But never say never, Mark. That's always my view.
That's true. Yeah, well, that's a good philosophy to have, John. Yeah, and it's good that you're so busy. It's just fantastic. You're a hard man to. Your time management skills are just phenomenal. I think just incredible.
Well, thank you, Mark. I've no doubt your own time management skills too. Having been to the top level badminton, you and Bruce over the decades, where you got to, was it 39 in the world, Mark, back then? Am I right? 39? You can tell.
Yes, you are, John. Yeah.
Wow.
39. I think it was in October 2005 on the men's doubles BWF world ranking after the Danish Super Series in October, where we lost to a good English pair in the second round. That was the Danish Open. What a place to play. Vividly remember that the Danish really put on a great show. It was a lovely experience to play in the Danish Open.
Yeah, and did you come across any grumpy umpires during your playing career, or any interesting encounters, Mark?
I can't. Well, I can't. I'm sure I did, and I'm sure I've had some disputes with umpires, but rare, John. Very, very rare. All the umpires I've come across very, very professional. Like, no stories are springing to my mind. I'll have a think about that and report back to you next week, John.
Yeah, that would be good. Well, we're here on the Badminton Talk podcast. We're talking to Carol Farrell. We've just all heard part one of a fascinating interview. There are more parts to this interview, Mark. A couple of more parts, but the next one is going to be, of course, next Saturday, again at 11 a.m. At the same time. So really, Mark, the weather is looking really good outside. Have you any plans for the weekend? Just to ask you that great question now that we're getting to the end of this podcast.
I haven't really made. I'll probably continue with my walking. I'm just really enjoying walking, John. So I try to do at least 5Ks, but at the weekends I step it up and try and get about 10Ks in.
Wow,
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, very good. And I see, Mark, you're drinking your, is it oat milk you have there on the screen? We're still on Zoom, my goodness, Mark. Zoom, hopefully out of Zoom, but I see you drinking your oat milk.
Yes, John, absolutely. Bought some oat milk. Flahaven's oat milk. It's delicious. I can highly recommend it.
Flahaven's oat milk. My goodness, Mark. That is must be a new Mark topping. We won't recognise you come September. Okay, Mark. Well, I think it's our jingle is kind of 20 seconds. We're just about out. So listen, have a great weekend, Mark, and we'll do it all again next Saturday. See you, Mark Topping.
See you, John Noble. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.